What's up, baby dolls? I got some juicy question and answers coming your way. My first question is, should Richard Hart do another sacrifice at the top? Let's listen what I had to say to my friend Fhoolzy, who asked. I pray to God, Mr. Fhoolzy, that Richard Hart does another sacrifice and he marks the top. And to be honest, he should do one. Why? That $1 billion of money, it's going somewhere. It could go into the next pump fund rug. It could go to another layer 2 Ethereum poop. It could go into another fake Bitcoin treasury altcoin thing that's not going to be around after the next bear market. It's going to go somewhere better in the greatest cult in crypto than anywhere else. Like, you know, we're locked in. Like, we survived minus 99%. I made 5,400 videos. You know what I mean? Even when we revealed the unfortunate truth that Richard Hart might not live on top of a sandwich shop anymore, nobody blinked. So if that $1 billion is going to go somewhere better in our hands, do you know what I mean? Like, it will go somewhere. It's just, who's it going to go to, you know? Like, there's a lot of people out there, they're just begging for something to believe in. They will throw their money in something, you know? And so begins another cycle. I mean, like, it's funny. The idea of a sacrifice seemed so illegal in 2021. And then the president comes out, unzips his pants, flops a meme coin, and then his wife, Melania, literally doesn't even bother just doing anything, just straight dump down only. So, like, what Richard Hart, he looks like a saint compared to them, which you never would have thought that would happen. After all, it is crime season, baby. Yeehaw! So, that's what I think. I think it would be nice if Richard does do another sacrifice, you know, and after everything's pumped up, and he does put money into a pool and something like that happens. Yeah, because, look, you also probably wonder, like, hey, isn't it going to look bad because it's going to be a big retracement and everything? No. XRP took like 8 years to come and make it back to its all-time high. It doesn't matter. See, this is what Richard figured out, right? The higher your price goes, the more attention you get. The more people you get in, right? So, like, here's the thing. In a bear market, you're guaranteed to lose 75% of people who came in. You're guaranteed, right? So if you can just get the number of people who buy in to be as large as possible, then that's okay. So if you got 100 people to buy in, 75 are leaving, but 25 stay. What if you got 1 million people to buy in? Yeah, 750,000 leave, but that's orange juice glass half empty. What about the glass half full? You get to keep 250,000 people. That's the reason why Richard pumped up HEX so high to get everyone's attention. If it stopped at like 100x, wouldn't have been as big. Now, we all suffer for it because we're trapped. But like I say, man, it feels trapped, right? You didn't know the business cycle was going to go down this low, but cycle's going to repeat again, right? That's how I see it. I hope he really does come out and he does another sacrifice. I don't know what it would be for. But to be honest, man, it doesn't even need to do anything. Just people need to feel like they're making the right decision. You know what I mean? So, fingers crossed. We'll see. And so, baby dolls, to add to that as well, when we're speaking about, you know, the notion of a top or Richard Hart sacrifices and all the elements I just spoke here for you, let's look at HEX. Let's look at when he already did the sacrifice, because we can go off this data point, right? The PulseChain sacrifice planted on the HEX chart was done here. Okay, here's Julie. This, friends, there's an important date here. Richard Hart believed the top was in here. Okay, it's funny enough, friends, he actually called the top here for Bitcoin, and then we started rallying. Okay, that's very interesting. So HEX, when Bitcoin had topped out at 64K, HEX, let's actually get the exact date. Let's check that out, right? Remember, Richard Hart called the top on the day, and what we can do in a very family-friendly way, we can actually go and have a look at that exact moment here. It was right here, the 12th of real. If we go and check out where the 12th of April was, it is here. Interesting. So the 12th of April. So what HEX did was from the top, dropped 37%, but then it broke the high by 250%. That's about a 3.5x. So think about it. Richard Hart calls the top here. We go down a bit with it, and then it swoops back up. Believers, right? So then Richard Hart thinks that the whole crypto cycle top is here, and then HEX goes on its rally. Right? Remember, Bitcoin made another high like here. You know what I mean? That would have made it 69K, the fake top high, the Judas top. So that's something interesting to think about. If another sacrifice was done, yeah. If another sacrifice was done, I wonder if, because you got to think about this, friends. This is another way to think about it, right? HEX was like, you go back into 2020, it was about, this is 0.5 cents. See, that's 0.0055. So it's 0.5 cents. It does a 10x. Okay, so this is the first 10x. Yeah? Sacrifice is done, and then it does another 10x. All right? Bang. So it goes from 0.5 cents, it does a 10x up to about 5 cents. Sacrifice is done, it does another 10x. We hope that with PulseChain, we get something similar, where I actually go here in a very family-friendly way. Once again, friends, keeping it very family-friendly. We hope that, and let's put on a log chart at Cope. We hope that, let's say we just use a medium price here. Let's say it does a 10x and it gets to 2.8 sacrifice price, right? We hope it gets to like here, and then there's like a retracement, and then I'm hoping it does another 10x, which would bring it around 27x sac price. All right, I hope it does that. Now, what would actually make it do that? Well, I don't know. I'm hoping something to do with PDI and maybe pegging and just magic. I don't know, man. I'm just a believer, friends. You've seen my nipples, man. Right? Clean out all the Band-Aids from the pharmacy store, all the nipple cream. That's pretty much that. That might be what happens, where it goes, your first wave leg is the first bit of excitement leg. You get everybody in, and then the big part happens. That might be the final big move. I'm just using maybes, man, because, you know, you're doing a lot of different elements now. And baby dolls, I've got another question here from Fhoolzy again, and some other people, sirs. Everyone in my telegrams, they was talking about how everyone feels so jaded and, like, you know, depressed and worn out, such that even a 10x to 15x is all they're happy for. But we have to dive a bit deeper to that, friends, and let me continue. No, so it's not that you're jaded. It's that you've been here in the whole bear market listening to me saying, dude, like, do you have 6 months of living expenses put into crypto? If you don't, you're probably not aggressive. You know, if you go look at anyone else, if you remember last cycle, you know, in 2021, people weren't talking like I'm talking. In 2021, people were referring to 2017 gains, where everything went up 250x. So in like Tika Tuari and everybody else, they said, guys, crypto does 1,000 X's and 100 X's. So you just need a little bit and you make a bigger money. So you can just put $100 to these places and you'll all make 200x. It didn't happen. That's why in the bear market, I literally told everyone, I go, okay, here's the realistic harsh truth to swallow. Firstly, yeah, crypto's going up. But 2, it's exponentially getting harder, which means people are exponentially putting in more money and the gains are diminishing. So 3, you have to get ahead of them. You can't invest 1 week of wage, 1 month of living expenses and kill it. Not going to happen, bro. You got to start at 6 months. You know, so if you need $30,000 a year to live, you got to have like 15 grand. Okay, you are starting to get aggressive. And like, no one talks like that because for whatever reason. I mean, like, why? Because no one's helping us, bro. Of course they're not going to talk like that. They'll go, hey, put your $15,000 into my Bybit leverage exchange. That's the best thing you'll ever do. Oopsies, did you get liquidated? I told you not to gamble. That's the type of stuff they're saying. No one's talking like me. You know, in the stock market, people have 20 years of life savings in because it only grows 8% per year. So if you have literally 5, 10, 15 years of savings in stock market, that's your superannuation, your 401k. Yeah, no one bats an eyelid. Everyone's like, duh, you're meant to do that. Yeah. But in crypto, that's why I was like the first person saying, man, like you need half a year in minimum. That's why it opened a lot of people's minds. Like when I speak to normies, you know, they're like, hey man, I'm thinking I'm going really, really hard. They're like, I'm thinking of throwing the full $3,000 in. And you know, money's different for everyone. I'm like, bro, do you understand there are literally people here, they are swinging your entire year's salary every month? Do you know that? And then that's not even aggressive. Like we're literally watching people who turn 100K to a mil to 3 mil. Like they just, you know what I mean? Like they just have no idea. But when they finally figure it out, it's probably at the end of the top and everything out here. So remember, getting a 10 to 15x, it's huge. But why is it huge for you? Because you have probably more than 1 week of wages in. If someone has 1 year of living expenses, like if you need $30,000 a year to live in whichever country you are, if you've got 30 grand in Richard Fart coins or anything else, if you made a 15x, bro, that's 15 years of wages, salary you win. You literally don't have to work anymore. You just live off the yield, you know? But that's us talking about. But like that's why, like, why does no one talk like that? Because they're scared, bro. They're scared if it doesn't work out, then everyone's like, oh, look at that scammer. He told us to go aggressive. Because there's no upside, bro. There's no upside in telling people to do it. You just get the downside. But me, I mean, I don't give a shit. I say, this is what I'm doing. And if it works out, you have no one to blame but yourself, you know? So God bless you, sir. We love you.